Every day, the darker side of humanity becomes evident. We witness how individuals can inflict pain on others in ways that defy comprehension. It's a heartbreaking aspect of life that we cannot ignore. As someone who delves into the world of crime, I aim to share these shocking stories and explore the motivations that drive people to such extremes. I'm Michael, and today, I present to you another unbelievable true crime story. The night was quiet, yet within the confines of one apartment, a chilling event was unfolding, a crime so horrifying that its secrets would remain hidden for months. Shannon Graves had no inkling that this night would mark the end of her life. At first, her absence went unnoticed. Days turned into weeks, and life continued as if everything were normal. Yet, for those closest to her, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. Where had Shannon gone? Why was she silent, refusing to answer her phone? The more they searched for answers, but as the days passed, the unsettling truth began to emerge. This was not merely a case of a disappearance. It was a dark narrative woven with lies, jealousy, and a desperate effort to erase someone from existence. Yet, justice has a way of uncovering the truth, and soon the shocking revelations would begin to surface. Shannon Graves was born on November 4, 1988, in Ohio, USA. She was the beloved daughter of Christine Graves, a dedicated single mother. Christine later rebuilt her life with Ronnie, who embraced the role of Shannon's father, treating her as though she were his own biological child. Shannon, in turn, welcomed this new dynamic. Those who knew Shannon could easily recognize her kind soul and loving spirit. In 2016, she achieved a significant milestone by earning her cosmetology license, a moment she celebrated with great excitement. To her, this was not just a career opportunity, it represented a chance at a fresh start after a challenging upbringing. Her friends affectionately called her Star, a fitting name for someone with such a vibrant spirit. However, Shannon's warm-hearted nature often led her to make questionable choices, particularly in her relationships and with substance use. These issues intensified following the passing of her mother. Many of her closest friends noted her troubling pattern of falling for the wrong men, drawn to those with a rebellious edge. Despite these struggles, Shannon remained resolute in her desire to take control of her life. With her hard-earned success, she felt ready to leave behind the shadows of her past and focus on a brighter future. Those who knew her well, including Ronnie and her friends, could attest to her resilience and strength. Tragically, her instincts would ultimately betray her. Shannon became involved with Arturo Novoa. Charismatic and passionate about music, Arturo was also deeply secretive about his personal life. The secrecy surrounding Arturo Novoa likely stemmed from his extensive criminal record, which began in 2004 with an arrest for assault and property damage. Just months later, he faced additional charges for escaping from prison. His criminal history continued to grow, with charges for obstructing official duties. By 2006, he was involved in a police chase that led to felony fleeing, followed by an aggravated arson charge later that same year. After serving time, Arturo found himself back in trouble in 2008, arrested for trespassing after being evicted from his home. In 2010, his legal woes escalated with charges related to weapons and unlawful entry. Court records painted a disturbing picture of a man entrenched in a life of crime. Despite his troubling past, when Shannon Graves and Arturo began dating in the summer of 2016, things initially appeared to be going well. She introduced him to her family, spending increasing amounts of time at his home. That same year, Shannon welcomed a puppy into her life, a source of joy and companionship that brightened her days. During the holiday season, she enjoyed a warm family gathering filled with laughter, food, and gift exchanges. Little did anyone know, it would be the last time the family would all be together. Just 2 months later, while with Arturo, Shannon had a brief encounter with her sister, Debbie DePaul. Their conversation had been brief, but it revealed that Shannon was planning her sister Debbie's upcoming birthday in March. Excitement filled the air as Shannon prepared for the celebration. Yet, when the day arrived, she never showed up. Her absence was surprising and uncharacteristic. Initially, her family thought she was merely busy and would arrive later. As hours turned into days, their hope dwindled, especially when she failed to call or send a message. Not even to wish Debbie a happy birthday. The concern escalated when she also missed the Easter gathering the following month. Alarm bells began to ring. Weeks passed, and with each unanswered call and message, her family's anxiety deepened. In a desperate attempt to find answers, Ronnie reached out to Arturo, Shannon's boyfriend. Arturo claimed that they had broken up and that Shannon had moved to Cleveland to be with someone else. However, when Ronnie and Debbie tried to contact her directly, they found no trace. Determined to uncover the truth, they went to Shannon's apartment, hoping for clues. What they discovered only heightened their fears. Her car and phone remained, but there was no sign of her beloved dog. Meanwhile, around that same time, Arturo was arrested on drug-related charges. As the days passed, Shannon's family was consumed by fear and uncertainty. It was not until June that Debbie officially reported her disappearance to the police. In their report, family members acknowledged Shannon's past struggles with addiction, but emphasized that she had never gone this long without reaching out. Authorities urged anyone with information to come forward while they initiated their own investigation, scouring hospitals and jails. But every lead came up empty. Tracking Shannon's whereabouts proved to be an incredibly challenging task for investigators, as she had been missing for months. Despite the obstacles, they filed a request for her phone records while simultaneously examining her personal life. Shannon's family revealed that she often spent extended periods with Arturo before she vanished. This prompted police to interview Arturo again. However, he reiterated the same story he had told Ronnie, complicating the investigation further. Without a concrete timeline of her disappearance, there was no way to verify Arturo's alibi. Moreover, there was no trace of the supposed new boyfriend Shannon had allegedly moved in with. As suspicions grew, detectives uncovered information about an ex-boyfriend named John. Intrigued by this potential lead, they decided to investigate him further. Besides running his own business, John had a criminal history linked to drug trafficking. His incarceration had driven a wedge between him and Shannon, with friends recalling her deep distress upon learning of his conviction. To complicate matters, John had been released from prison shortly before Shannon Graves was believed to have gone missing. When police located him for questioning, he claimed that he hadn't seen her since February. John mentioned that Shannon had talked about rekindling her relationship with Arturo, suggesting that their situation was not as ideal as it appeared. Nevertheless, John admitted to still having feelings for her at the time of that conversation. With two potential suspects but lacking solid evidence, the police were desperate for a breakthrough. When Shannon's phone records finally arrived, investigators hoped for clarity. However, they revealed little more than confirming her routine work schedule in late February. Before her phone was abruptly turned off, the number had since been reassigned to someone else. Around the same time, all activity on her credit cards also ceased. The case remained at a frustrating dead end. Little did the investigators know that answers were on the horizon, though they would come in the most horrifying way imaginable. On July 30th, a man from the city of Youngstown called 911 to report a gruesome discovery. In a shocking revelation over the phone, a man disclosed that human remains had been discovered inside black garbage bags. Most disturbingly, the head was missing. Emergency responders immediately alerted the police. The chilling news prompted a rapid response from law enforcement, who headed to the home of the caller, a man named Kenny, accompanied by his wife, Jill. As forensic experts began to examine the remains, the couple was taken in for questioning, recounting their harrowing experience. The freezer that contained the gruesome body parts belonged to a friend who had recently experienced a power outage in his home. Just a week earlier, he had asked Kenny and Jill to store it in their basement, claiming it was filled with meat he did not want to spoil. On July 29, Jill decided to prepare spaghetti and meatballs for dinner, thinking she could borrow some meat from the freezer and return it afterward. When she approached the freezer, however, she discovered it was locked. Dismissing the oddity, as their friend had always been somewhat eccentric, she took matters into her own hands. Armed with a screwdriver, she unscrewed the lock, prying it open with ease. What she found inside was far from the expected assortment of frozen meat. Instead, she encountered piles of black garbage bags in a bucket, all emanating a putrid stench. A wave of dread washed over her, and she quickly slammed the freezer shut, her heart racing as she called for her husband. But instead of the expected assortment of frozen meat, she was confronted with piles of black garbage bags in a bucket, all releasing a putrid stench. A wave of dread washed over her. She slammed the freezer shut and immediately called her husband. When Kenny arrived, he and Jill cautiously opened one of the bags, only to make a horrifying discovery: a severed human foot. As investigators questioned them separately, their accounts aligned perfectly, leading to their quick clearance from suspicion. The focus then shifted to the man who had left the freezer in their home. His name was Anthony Gonzalez. Kenny recounted meeting Anthony 4 years prior through a mutual friend. They formed a bond over a shared interest in music, with Anthony boasting audio equipment and expressing his aspirations to record rap songs. Although they occasionally spent time together, Kenny never regarded Anthony Gonzalez as a close friend. He observed that Anthony was unpredictable and, at times, even aggressive. Yet, despite the couple's cooperation with investigators, the true identity of the victim remained shrouded in mystery. The situation took a turn when forensic experts examining the remains uncovered a critical clue: a scorpion tattoo on one of the feet. This tattoo matched one that Shannon had, a reference to her zodiac sign. While further testing was essential, it became increasingly evident that the body belonged to Shannon. Now, investigators faced a daunting question: how and when had she ended up in that freezer? Shortly thereafter, Ohio's lead prosecutor held a press conference to address the chilling case, which was rapidly emerging as one of the most disturbing in recent memory. Although, the medical examiner faced a significant challenge. Unable to determine the exact cause of death without the victim's head, the identity of Shannon was confirmed through fingerprint analysis, a grim revelation for those searching for answers. Months after Shannon's disappearance, her family was devastated upon learning the grim fate of their beloved daughter and sister. The reality they faced was far worse than their worst fears. In the face of overwhelming grief, Shannon's loved ones gathered to honor her memory with a candlelight vigil in a serene local park. Debbie, speaking to reporters, expressed her belief that Shannon's soul had found peace. She emphasized that the vigil was a celebration of Shannon's life, rather than an occasion to dwell in sorrow. That evening, dozens of attendees lit candles and released lanterns into the night sky. Many wore shirts adorned with heartfelt messages dedicated to Shannon. A close friend vowed to carry Shannon's spirit forward, determined that tragedy would not define her legacy. While her family shared that sentiment, they could not mask their profound pain. Ronnie, too grief-stricken to appear on camera, confided that his sorrow was indescribable. He had loved Shannon as his own daughter and now yearned for justice. As the investigation progressed, authorities intensified their search for Anthony. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon a critical lead. Anthony Gonzalez was merely an alias. His true identity emerged, revealing him as a suspect they had already flagged in their inquiries. With each passing moment in the investigation of Shannon's disappearance, new revelations came to light. The police learned that Arturo Novoa was involved in a relationship with a woman named Katrina Layton, who had moved into his residence just 2 weeks after Shannon was last seen alive. Given Arturo's extensive criminal background, authorities wasted no time in pursuing him. Both he and Katrina were swiftly apprehended, and their home was meticulously searched. Investigators discovered alarming evidence: red stains on the walls, a knife, and a manual for the freezer. Kenny, who had previously believed his friend's name was Anthony, was stunned to learn the truth about Arturo. But he was not alone in his confusion. Arturo had a history of using aliases, likely to hide his past, which included ties to drug-related activities. During questioning, he maintained an unsettling calmness and repeatedly denied any involvement in Shannon's death, insisting he had no knowledge of her whereabouts. He also tried to distance himself from the freezer. Katrina echoed his claims, but their denials began to unravel. Their facade crumbled when police found a key among Katrina's belongings that fit the freezer's lock. This pivotal discovery firmly linked them to the crime, ensuring they remained in custody as the investigation unfolded. Simultaneously, John, Shannon's ex-boyfriend, became a crucial player in unraveling the mystery. In conversations with Shannon's friends, he learned about a bonfire gathering attended by Arturo. According to a witness, Arturo was accompanied by a friend named Andrew Herman, and they were seen burning clothing together. Investigators later searched the area and discovered remnants of the fire, including a bracelet that belonged to Shannon. As the case continued to unfold, authorities reached out to a woman who was familiar with Andrew and his wife, Michelle. She revealed that Arturo and Katrina had been responsible for Shannon's murder. This startling claim was corroborated by neighbors who reported seeing Katrina walking Shannon's dog and using her credit cards for small purchases in the neighborhood. It became evident that she had taken over significant aspects of Shannon's life. In the midst of these developments, tragedy struck as Ronnie unexpectedly passed away, never getting the chance to see justice served. Debbie, engulfed in grief, sought therapy. While taking care of her younger brother and Shannon's cherished dog, Andrew and Michelle found themselves in pre-trial detention. Authorities had amassed strong evidence indicating that Michelle had threatened witnesses in a desperate attempt to obstruct the investigation and conceal the crime. As the case was presented to a grand jury, a clearer picture of the events began to emerge. On February 24, 2017, Arturo killed Shannon, likely in the presence of Katrina. Afterward, he summoned Andrew to his home, where he sought assistance in dismembering the body. The three men attempted to dissolve parts of Shannon's remains in sulfuric acid, but their efforts were thwarted by a lack of supplies. They disposed of her head, while other body parts were hidden in the freezer, and some remains were discarded in a location that authorities have yet to discover. According to the lead prosecutor, Arturo was nothing more than a petty drug dealer. On February 24, 2017, in a chilling act, Arturo killed Shannon, likely in the presence of Katrina. Later, he summoned Andrew to his home, requesting his assistance in dismembering the body upon his arrival. In a chilling revelation, investigators uncovered that the trio attempted to dissolve parts of Shannon's remains in sulfuric acid. However, they found themselves lacking the necessary quantity to complete the gruesome task. In a desperate act, they disposed of her head. The remaining body parts were stored in a freezer, while other fragments were carelessly discarded in an unknown location, evading the grasp of authorities. The lead prosecutor stated with conviction that Arturo was nothing more than a petty drug dealer, a profile that masked the depths of his heinous actions. Driven by a toxic jealousy, Katrina Layton sought to eliminate Shannon Graves, enticed by the prospect of claiming Arturo Novoa for herself. As the looming specter of the death penalty cast its shadow, the four defendants ultimately chose to accept plea deals, trading their freedom for a chance at leniency. Arturo Novoa was handed a life sentence for the brutal murder of Shannon. Katrina Layton faced 18 years behind bars, while Andrew Herman received a 12-year sentence. Michelle Herman, connected through a web of complicity, was sentenced to 2.5 years, along with a mandatory 6-month substance abuse program. Despite his conviction, Arturo later attempted to appeal his sentence, but the court upheld the original ruling. In an effort to honor her sister's memory, Debbie DePaul took to social media, creating a dedicated page to celebrate Shannon's life. Debbie regularly shares photos of her cherished dog and makes frequent visits to Shannon's grave, where she has established a heartfelt ritual. After neatly trimming the grass, she spray paints a large pink heart beside the headstone, a vibrant testament to her enduring love. In a poignant local interview conducted years later, Debbie recounted the moment when she received the devastating news about the partial discovery of Shannon's remains. Yet, it wasn't until the global health crisis struck, forcing her into isolation after losing her job, that the full weight of the tragedy truly descended upon her. With distractions stripped away, she was confronted with the profound loss. Despite the agony, she eventually embraced the necessity of grieving. Today, the investigators who played a pivotal role in bringing Arturo to justice persist in their search for the missing portions of Shannon's remains. Debbie clings to hope that they will eventually be found, all while keeping her sister's spirit alive through her heartfelt online tribute. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Unreal True Crime. If you are captivated by mysteries from around the globe, don't miss our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we delve into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Subscribe now so you won't miss out on more thrilling investigations.